the one issue that I see with a lot of people coming up, especially through this social media age, is they get jaded by these likes and followers, and they thinking like, oh, well, I got all these different followers, all these different likes, all these different comments. My brand, I'm not gonna do this. But the thing is, they don't realize you have to do repetition.
Hello again. Welcome back to the Pre-Pro podcast presented by SPLYCEHOUSE. My name is Bill Parmentier of Old Storm Studios. Today's episode, we have a local filmmaker, cinematographer, overall pretty cool dude, Dana Christian. Welcome to the show, man.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you being here. And always, my man, Jake.
How's it going? Dana and I have worked together, so that's why I'm here.
Yeah. Just a little. Yeah. We worked there just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Normally, I would never let you on the show. But I'll make an exception for Dana.
Cool.
Because he seems like a nice guy. So Dana, welcome again. Tell me a little bit about what you do, what your background is. Like, why are you on this show?
Well, the reason why I'm on this show is I paid Jake to have me. No, I'm playing. No, the reason why I'm on this show is basically, like you said, I'm a local filmmaker. I've been in the industry professionally since 1999. I may not look like it, or I may look like it, but I've been around that long.
I won't say anything.
Yeah. And basically, like I say, I'm one of them guys that I would say kind of pioneer like actually entertainment video production here in town, because and especially like in the music video realm or whatever. We can get a lot deeper into other things or whatever. But yeah, I kind of would say like I was kind of like one of the first ones to really like just set that path. And then now I'm just, man, it's tremendous. We have people doing things in the entertainment realm at a certain level that it's unimaginable. So
Dana, you're a filmmaker, cinematographer, editor. I mean, you're you could be called like a one-man band, but I know when we were speaking earlier, like you don't want to do so much of that anymore. So is that kind of where your career started out? Is as a one-man band doing everything A to Z?
Yes, and it's funny because it was just about necessity. It was one of them situations to where like basically I had a music video show. And I never forget this story. It's hip hop music video show we used to have in town. And basically, people used to watch this show religiously. Like at the time, like Yo MTV Raps and Rap City was like a big deal.
Yeah. What was the show called?
It was called Fat Clips.
Yes.
Yes. And what happened was the show got so popular, people would call in the days it was supposed to air, like, hey, it's a new episode running. So one time we had to do this interview with the rap artist Lunatics. So the first time we had the interview set up with him, I missed it because I was interviewing and working with somebody else. Then the label was like, you missed the interview with him. Then I was like, okay, that was when his first single came out. This was like before he was who he is.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, the song was cool. I was like, I didn't know if he was gonna last or not. But then he ended up lasting. His album came out and it was hot. So they was like, look, he's back in town. You all need to do an interview with him. So I was like, cool. So my host couldn't show up. So I was like, what I'm gonna do? Luckily, I knew enough about like a lot of the artists because I'm like a true hip hop fan, and I was able to follow track with a lot of different things. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go get the camera and I'm gonna interview him myself. And he was like, well, how would you do that? So what I did was I had the camera on my shoulder. I like gave him the microphone, and through the shotgun mic, you could hear me asking the questions. So it's funny because it's like the blueprint to like Vlad TV now. And like a lot of these people that's doing like interviews or whatever, these point of view interviews and stuff. But like so I was just doing it just based off of pure necessity, just to make it happen. So that's how I kind of sprung into that, and then just translated doing the whole do-it-yourself filmmaking mentality was just based off of that too. Like, okay, I didn't have budgets to hire crew, hire staff, so I knew how to shoot, I knew how to edit, I knew basic lighting, I knew basic audio. You have to just make stuff happen. So that's where, that spawned from. But now you get older, you don't want to continue going down that hustle and bustle. You want to actually, level up and then also help other people in the industry as well. So that's where I kind of am now.
Back at that time, back in 99, 2000 or wherever it was, when you were getting work, did people see you as, oh, that's Dana, he's the one man band guy? You pay him a flat fee, he'll do it all. Mm-hmm. Was there a lot of that back then?
Yes and no. Primarily, it was, like I say, based off of what the project needed. Mm-hmm. Like, and sometimes, like, instance, I had like a really big project I had to do for Universal Records. And I didn't have an editing system. My buddy had one. So what I had to do was, I knew it was enough money in the budget. I was like, look, I pay you $1,000, man. We need to get this project done or whatever. I'll sit there with you. I'll go through the stuff. Because at the time, he had Premiere. Mm-hmm. Like one of the very first stages of Premiere.
Premiere wasn't even the thing. I mean, Final Cut and Avid, Yeah,
it was just like, Final Cut and Avid back then.
And then actually, believe it or not, it was really just Avid, Media 100, and Premiere was kind of just like, something that kind of was there.
Yeah.
Starting to come up.
I haven't heard anyone say Media 100 in a long time.
I told you, I've been around
I don't even
for
know.
a minute.
I don't even know Media 100.
Yeah, it's before your time.
Yeah, it's one of the first non-linear editing systems. And it was pretty decent though. You could do some stuff with it or whatever. But yeah, so based off of the projects, that's what I would have to do. And then it was just easier, I felt, to work with the client if they can just deal with just one person and you can just kind of do it all. And then which fast forwards now is funny because it went from like super high budgets and people dealing with that to now people are kind of scaling back. Mm-hmm. Because like I said, you don't have to go through so many channels. You can just, like I say, the turnaround times are a lot better. So it's just kind of was an exciting thing, but it's just funny because I've always kind of been that person like forward thinking. And I would say I always been like a forecaster. I can always predict where things were going. And sometimes I'd be a little bit too ahead of the weather pattern per se, but then it always seems to like tumble back around to where it needs to be.
So when I was coming up, I would take like any job under the sun, like in film and TV, video, whatever, and like I looked at every one as being like, I could make a couple of bucks, sure, but the point is to like learn something new every time.
Yes.
And to like and network and meet people and like get the next job and the next job and the next job and take the skills that I learned and apply it to things in the future and hopefully, like you said, level up, work my way up from being just a PA or something to like department head or whatever it might be. Did you have the same kind of experience like that, only in a different way?
I'm glad you brought that point up because I'm gonna touch on a couple of different things in that arena. Yes, I did that because I aspired to want to be a music video director. I aspired to want to do like high-end commercials and eventually like feature films. And the only way to really do that was you had to go outside of the market to do it, New York or LA. Mm-hmm. At the time, I was working a lot, just as an independent like filmmaker, videographer, that I had to use common sense and say, Dana, like, okay, I know this is where you want to be, but to get there in those different areas, you have to start at the bottom. I'm like, why would I start at the bottom at some place and never really possibly reach there when I'm already working, doing these things just at a localized level or at a small scale level. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting paid for it and getting recognized for it. So I'm like, let me just continue doing this and I'll wait for the calls and just kind of just do things to kind of like say network, position myself to where I can be seen. And the one issue that I see with a lot of people coming up, especially through this social media age, is they get jaded by these likes and followers and they thinking oh, well, I got all these different followers, all these different likes, all these different comments, my brand, I'm not gonna do this. And I'm like, okay, let me just ask you this. You got 5,000 followers, right? Ask your 5,000 followers, they can give you $1 right now and see how many people will support you.
Right.
And then that bring you down to reality. Mm-hmm. But the thing is they don't realize you have to do repetition. It's like, Jake, we play sports.
Used to.
Yeah. But we knew like in order to get better before the big game, you have to practice. You have to put in those reps. You have to like see certain things, defenses or offenses to understand like this is how I need to maneuver when these things come. You can't just do that when something big is thrown at you. So I took a lot of jobs. I still do that to this day. Sometimes I take some smaller jobs just to, like you say, just to experiment.
Yeah.
Just to do some different things. Because one thing I tell people is with clients, they don't want you experimenting on their own dime. They have deadlines. They don't care about your artistry. They don't care about you being creative. They look, can you make it happen? And can you deliver it? And can you do it within budget? And if you can add some razzle dazzle on top of that, cool. You know, so I use that mentality and I just push forward with that. And like I said, and I never get to, that's some stuff I just won't take, you know, but some opportunities I analyze and look at, I'm like, you know what, okay, what can I do with this? So how would this benefit me? How would it not benefit me? And if it doesn't check off certain boxes, then I'll pass it on or I just turn it down or whatever.
I want to go off the cuff really quick because you just brought up a good point. You're a really creative person, and I've seen that working with you, like the way your mind works and piecing things together. But like, how do you balance the creativity versus the timelines and the deadlines? Because a lot of people in the industry want to be very creative. Yeah. And that can limit you in your creativity when you're like, you got to get it done. You got to execute. Yeah. You got to do both. So how do you balance that?
How I balance it is, it goes back to the whole thing, like doing some of those projects that I'm not gonna say that didn't matter. Some of those projects I had a little bit more freedom to experiment with that didn't have crunch time, so I can just like work out some kinks. And then when I have some bigger projects, I can introduce some of these newer things in it. Just to see and test the waters to see if it's working with them, if it's clicking or not. But then not be married to some of that stuff, because at the end of the day, like a lot of these projects we do, it's not our projects. They lean on us to be the professional, to be the voice of reason. But at the end of the day they're the client, they're paying for it, and you have to deliver what they want. But sometimes, you know, in there are some things you do have to fight for, and some things it may be creatively because, hey, look, I need to do something creative with this because you all had this as planned and it just didn't work out. So this is the best way to do that fix or whatever. But I love my clients that allow me to be creative, to have that freedom and do those things or whatever. But like I said, that's why I take on other projects on the side just to get all that other stuff out the bag or whatever, so I can really just present those things to people.
That's what we were just talking about on the last podcast too, is with the Tokies, is like, I was saying like, I'll do one job for you and then I'll do one job for me. To where you sort of fulfill your duties and you check all your boxes for a client. Yep. And make money or like, gain something for yourself, and then turn around and like work for another client who maybe doesn't have as much money, but allows you a little more creative freedom. Yes. And so you sort of balance it out. I mean, that's the way I try to do it, is like balance it out between like all these different clients, and they all have different needs and wants. And like for the ones that, you know, can't pay the full fees, for example, like I'll push some more like outside the box creative ideas to them. Yeah. And they might be more willing to do that because they're, you know, getting a good deal. I mean, is that something that you experience as well?
Yes, I do. And actually, I recommend that to a lot of guys. Like I said, I have a music video background. And with a lot of the younger music video directors, one thing is they have to realize these clients, they aren't loyal in that music video world. They just looking to get a music video done. And if it happens to stand out, be creative, that's fine. And I applaud the artists that actually do care about their image and their music and having everything match up and go someplace. But it's a lot of artists that don't. And I see a lot of these younger guys, they get their cameras, these artists pay them, I'm not gonna say dollar amounts, but it's for real. I mean, it's not a lot of money, but they do so many of them in volume, it looks like it's a lot. But then the next year, another guy comes in and just charge $100 less, and then now they out the box. And I tell them, I said, look, what you have to do is, if you turn off the sound on all your music videos, all of them look alike. Yeah. I said, so what you need to do is, in order to help you get to the next level, artists that you know are really going to like go someplace, or even some of these bigger artists, do a music video for free with them, because that way it will help get your name out there, because you can piggyback off of that. But some of these artists that don't have bigger names, dude, push your creative agenda off on them.
Absolutely.
Because now you can use that to help showcase that you're more than just a template-based producer, director, editor, cinematographer.
Right. Yeah, if I'm not going to make my rate on this, or I'm not going to make a decent amount of money on this job, like at least I'll get something great for my portfolio.
Exactly.
That's what Eric and Mary Toki talked about on the last episode. And that's really cool. You gotta build your portfolio. You gotta showcase what you're capable. How does this lead into Nelly? Because you worked with Nelly a lot. Was there a question about that? Because it seems like we're right there.
No, that's pretty much it. I mean,
I love.
I guess it's on the music video.
Yeah, like how did you? So, Jake just mentioned Nelly, the multi-platinum recording artist. Nelly, we all know who he is from St. Louis.
Yeah.
So how did you go from doing like little one-man band videos to like working with Nelly?
And actually, that whole experience came through my music video show. So like him and his group, I always still associated St. Lunatics, even though Nelly was quote unquote the one that like was the quote unquote superstar. I know those guys. All of them are superstars in their own right. So one of the guys in the group, he called my music video show for a contest that I was doing.
Yeah.
And we was chit-chatting. He was trying to coerce me into like letting them win. I was like, man, no, you didn't get the answer right. And then we just started talking because he was a really cool guy. And I was like, so what do you do? He was like, I'm a rapper. I was like, and this is like what 97, 98? I'm like,
before you were shooting.
Yeah, before I was just had the music video. I mean, I still was like just filming my music video show and editing, but I wasn't branding myself as like a music video director. I was just a music video show producer. So I was like, so you a rap? I'm like, who you rap with? He said the St. Lunatics. I was like, dog, I know y'all. I was like, yeah, y'all song hot. I was like, I tell people like, it's you and this other group called the Gatekeepers, man. I think if anybody could like blow up in St. Louis, it'd be y'all. So he was like, word. So we started chit-chatting and he invited me down to their very first music video, not the Country Grammar one. It was a video they did called Give Me What You Got that they filmed. So I came down there, I went to the skating rink, met all the fellas and stuff like that. Stayed in context, started seeing them out, touching bases. And then the Country Grammar music video shoot was coming up because the song started like blowing up locally.
Yeah.
I never forget. It was like doing a weekday. They was doing the shoot and doing the afternoon. And at this time I had to check out like the video camera, like at the TV station. So I had to go in, sign it out and stuff like that. I was like, man, you know what? I was like, you know what? I almost didn't go to the video shoot. I almost didn't go.
This is Country Grammar.
Why not?
Yeah, because
had you heard the music yet?
No, this was the very first single, and it was still a local song.
Had you heard the music, would you have known how big it was, and would have been there? And for sure.
I'm be honest. I heard the like I said, the Country Grammar, like the song was playing on the radio.
Yeah.
And I told Nelly this one time. I said, Nelly, look, I was not a fan of the song Country Grammar.
Ooh.
I wasn't.
Wow.
Blasphemy.
But here's the reason why. Sonically, the song was just okay. And even to this day, the song is just okay, but I liked it because I understood what it represented. And that's the thing I always did, even with my music video show. I played some songs and music videos that I necessarily wasn't a fan of, but I removed myself from the picture. I said, you know what? Why is this song a hit? Why do people like this artist? So I always kept that in mind. But I said, you know what? These are local guys. I need to support them.
Yes.
Let me go get the camera. Went out there, and I'm glad I did because I was the only person to this day that documented that whole music video. Like other than like the action
behind the scenes,
other than like the camera crew that was there filming, I was the only one that documented this particular day.
And where is that footage now?
I still have it. It was
37 terabyte.
I know, right? It's sitting on the desk somewhere, get collected dust. Right. No, but that's how I started out. And then from there, the music video director who did that music video, he was like renowned as like one of the best like music video directors, especially in the hip hop music world, named Mark Classfield. I was just chatting it up with him because at this time I was hired by Universal Records to actually do an EPK, electronic press kit, for the group. So we was out in LA and they was doing the Batter Up and Ride With Me music video.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to the music video director, just like explaining to him, man, I really like how you do the portrait style type of shots with the people, and then just how you capture like urban scenarios and then mix that and put artists in different situations you wouldn't normally see them in. And he was just soaking this all in. So I never forget, I got a call from the producer from his film company. They was like, hey, Mark Classfield spoke highly of you, and he said that like he wants you to be his casting director. I'm like,
really?
Yeah, I'm like, casting director. I'm like, I never casted no music videos before. He was like, no. He said, you can do it. He said, for one, you know a lot of people, you understand the type of people he like to see, and you know the group. I did it. And then
for those 2 music videos, for
the videos they did back here in town, it was Midwest Swing. It was a song for the St. Lunatic album. Mm-hmm. I mean, pretty much from the Midwest Swing music video, and then any other music video that was done in St. Louis, like from Chingy Right There, J-Kwon's video, all those songs, I was the casting director for all those music videos.
Really?
Yeah. But
that's awesome.
But then
I watched those videos so many times.
They're so
dude,
good,
it was an experience, and then that's how I kind of, met all these artists and started working with them because I was the casting director, but then they would let me like film behind the scenes. So I had like tons of footage of behind the scenes of all these music videos, and then start traveling with the artists, getting more in-depth, more personal videos. Some people seen and some people haven't seen.
But what were you doing with all this video content, the behind the scenes? Was it going anywhere? Or
what I was doing is like, so what happened was like with the Nelly project. And this is big on, like I say, like networking and kind of putting yourself out there. And I tell people, like, before social media, you had to go hand to hand. You had to be face to face with people. Mm-hmm. So the group, the St. Lunatics, was doing a photo shoot, right? So I was there to film behind the scenes. I don't even think was I even getting paid to do that? I think I was just doing it just. I
don't know, Dana.
I know, right? I had to go back and try to find some bank statements. But I know I was there doing behind the scenes for the photo shoot. And the marketing director for Universal Records for the urban division, she was there. So we sitting in the chair and we just talking. And I was like, man, like just the chemistry of the guys and how they just interact. I'm like, man, y'all should really do something like to showcase this so people can really see who they are. And especially by them coming from St. Louis, so people can really know it's bigger than that, because people in New York and LA, you kind of know where they're from. Mm-hmm. I think if y'all can put something together, that'd be great. Like a press kit, like a EPK. And she was like, you should do it. I was like, okay, yeah, I will. She was like, I'm gonna call you Monday. And we're gonna talk some numbers. So I was like, okay. They called me Monday, talk numbers, and then they flew me out. I got flown out to LA for that Batter Up and
I love that one that came out.
Ride With Me music video.
That was so much fun. Yeah.
So that footage that I was shooting for that was part of the EPK. So with like the first 500,000 copies of the St. Lunatic album, you got a V-Light. It was a foam VHS tape that actually came with the CD.
Yeah.
And then I used that same marketing strategy with Chingy. Started working with Chingy. He was a casting director, met his people, pitched them on, hey, look, let's do an EPK. And then that one was on
I know how to do this.
And that one was on the DVD with the CD. So it was packaged up together. And then with J-Kwon, I did something with him. And then with Ebony Eyes, I did something. So I kept using that formula. So a lot of that footage was packaged up and went out with the CDs. And then I had like VH1, BET, MTV. They would call me and license footage from me. So also So it's important to keep your archives, keep that footage, because you just never know what it's going to be worth. And like I say, and as long as you own it, you can constantly keep reusing it over and over again. And we've seen it with the Kanye West documentary.
Well, I wanted to ask that because you have all this footage. Are you going to do something with it? Are you planning anything?
I am planning on doing something with it. I'm kind of in talks with somebody right now. I don't want to say too much about utilizing and telling that story.
Dana, nobody's listening.
Okay.
Go ahead. No.
Oh my God. We say this every time. We only have 1 million listeners.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's
yeah.
only a million.
It's fine.
But see, it may be that 1,000,001 listener.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
you're going to jail.
I know, right? But I am talking to somebody about doing something on the larger scale.
Because there's been some, that reminds me, there's been some sort of like rock docs on like HBO and Netflix and stuff recently of just like concert footage or like tour footage. And this seems like exactly in that lane to do that. It seems perfect. Like the St. Lunatics story or something.
Well, by the way, when that Kanye doc came out, I think I called you right away and I was like, tell me you've seen this. You're like, yeah, of course. I was like, you're the cootie to Nelly. I was like, you got all this footage. Like, come on.
And like I say, like the piece and the idea that I have, it's not only a St. Louis story, but it's a story that I have never heard in music history. Of the way it unfolds, the way it happened, and even where it is today. So
you talking about the whole Nelly situation, the whole country grammar?
I ain't gonna say too much, but it's some parts and pieces in there that people haven't heard.
Well, I believe that, but also, I mean, do you think that put St. Louis on the map? People probably didn't even know where St. Louis was.
Well, of course, putting St. Louis on the map. Like I say, timing is everything, so people don't realize what was going on in St. Louis at that time. The St. Louis Rams won the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, that was 2000. 2000.
Yeah, and then what happened is you have to remember.
99?
No, it was the 99 year.
2000
was the Super Bowl,
yeah. And you have to remember what was happening. You had guys that was coming from L.A., bright lights, big city, Hollywood, coming to St. Louis. So you need to replicate that energy. And then when Nelly came out, it just magnified it. And so that way you could really lean into like, I'm from St. Louis and I'm proud. You have for real champions. You have people that's coming up from that you wouldn't think about. So the timing on that was crazy. But as far as the music scene, totally that put St. Louis on the map. And we had other music artists out there. Yeah. But that one right there,
he was the biggest thing out there. And that music style, it had that like the country grammar. It wasn't just your typical East Coast, West Coast rap. It was different.
Yeah.
That to me, why country grammar stuck out. I liked Ride With Me that was my song when that album came out. But country grammar we hadn't heard anything like that.
Yeah, it was just so different sonically and everything. And it's funny because I'm buddies with his main producer, J.E. And I asked him one day, I was like, Jay, so when you was doing this album, like, what was going on? Like, what made you do that? And he was just like, man, because like J.E.'s a really talented guy. He's really into music and he's a student of their craft. And he just told me, he was like, man, like, just with that twang of Nelly's, it just reminded me of like the bluesy country type of sound. He said, and I
still hear that twang.
Yeah. And he said like, it was hard to really construct and put Nelly on your typical boom bap type of hip hop beats. And we're not a boom bap city. He said, so what are we known for musically? The blues and jazz and that. And Nelly even says this too. He actually uses his voice as an instrument. So when he does those riffs and those twangs and those melodies, it really just enhanced. It was just a cool blending of the sounds or whatever. So man, it was just genius for them just to put that together. But that's what really opened up the door. But then the sound evolved, and you had the Chingies. And you know what I'm saying, the Murphy League came up out the camp, and then like you say, J-Kwon. You name them. Even now we have artists that's just really doing this. They're like Smino. I don't know if you all are familiar with Smino. He's a
no. Yeah, I don't know.
Look him up. Smino, he's super dope. He has a single called 90 Proof that he just did with J. Cole.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean,
awesome.
Super dope. He's from that same lineage where he uses his voice as an instrument, and then his wordplay is like bananas, you know.
Dana, it seems like you had a lot of connections, especially like out in LA and like with the music video scene, the music industry. Like, why did you stay in St. Louis? It seems like you could have gone somewhere and like, been somebody, so to speak. You know what I mean? But like, why stay here?
You know, I get that question a lot, even today, even back then. I get that question because people, I guess they saw something in me that was bigger. My thing is, the reason why I stayed is it kind of goes back to like my childhood and how I was brought up. Like I grew up in the inner city of North St. Louis, and at the time, I guess my parents would be considered middle class. So and that also families were moving out to North County. My parents knew the history of the city of St. Louis and in the inner city in particularly. They was like, you know what? People around here need to see professionals in these areas so they can at least get some inspiration, inspired to be something or whatnot. So I guess some of that was kind of embedded in me. And then I know like, okay, I didn't know any music video directors here in St. Louis. I didn't know any like high-end commercial branding directors here in St. Louis. I mean, like people who did commercials, but I'm talking about on the level where we see them now. Yeah. Like it wasn't that in St. Louis. It was strictly news and sports. That's all I knew. So when I say like I was kind of like the first of its kind, like doing actually entertainment-based video production, I was like, you know what? People need to see this. And then plus I was a full-time, like literally the day I graduated from college, I was working for myself.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why would I go someplace, work for somebody else doing something lesser than me and have to start over when I'm in a greater position? Maybe I may not be making the type of money. I may not be doing the larger scale videos, but I'm getting those reps in. I'm building a brand for myself. People are knowing me. It's steadily growing. So I'm like, only way I do that is unless like the Universal project come along, somebody's gonna hire me to bring me out there and do that. And then now, like I say, that caught up because now, like especially during the pandemic, people were doing things virtually, and you connecting like via the internet, you know what I'm saying, like Jake, you know, like we work with clients out of town and we just upload the footage to them and then they give reviews right there on the spot, so you don't have to leave your home to do that. So that was one of the main reasons. And the second main reason I came to realization too, I was talking to a buddy this weekend and they mentioned something about the sense of freedom, having freedom. And then I was like, you know what? By staying here and doing this on my own terms, it's a sense of freedom. It's like I'm not having to chase after the industry. I let the industry chase after me.
Right.
And when you get a real taste of that, dude, it's hard to go back. It's hard to go back. I mean, I pondered about like, should I go take this job out here? Should I go do this? And I'm like, it just don't feel right in here. So that's why I stay grounded here in St. Louis. And like I say, and hopefully inspire other people. And you know, what I'm doing now is mentoring the youth and have some other mentors and friends. Well, I don't even say mentors, people that I help, you know, inspire and get into the film industry. And a lot of like photographers that you all know that made the jump from photography to video. Believe it or not, I'm not saying I'm responsible for that, but they reached out to me and it's like, hey, look, I'm thinking about getting in the video and I'm thinking about, can you show me this? I'm like, yeah, of course. Yeah, go ahead. And they doing great.
I like to think that you're responsible for their success personally.
But I say, you know what, I like that.
You don't even know these people.
No, he may know some people. Yeah.
I don't know who these people are.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah,
but
I don't know.
But yeah, I can't take credit for their success because they put in their work. What I did was just kind of like, just share it like, hey, look, this is the introductory to it. Like, here's the door. Walk through it, man, explore, take your tour, you know, take pictures, do what you need to, and just treat it right.
That's important. Nobody gets anywhere without the help of others.
Yeah.
It's just, you have to utilize your resources. Yes. So that's cool. Like being in St. Louis, helping St. Louis grow. I mean, yeah, that all makes sense to me.
Yeah. And plus I love collaborating. I love collaborating with people. Granted, I like doing my own things, but I know it's something about when you really can have that connection with certain people, certain other creators, and it just, man, it's just a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I like being. I lived in LA for a couple of years, and I tried it out in the industry, and it's like suffocating. Yes. For me anyway, it was. It's like I was one of a million people trying to do the same job that I wanted. And like moving back to St. Louis and working here, it's like I felt like more of a big fish in a small pond, you know, and found more success that way rather than trying to like scrape after the crumbs in a really big city.
Yeah.
And like the stuff I do is like, you know, we're not making giant movies and stuff here yet.
Yeah.
But it's like the stuff that we're doing is like so much fun. And like I've got a career out of it. Like I can take care of my family.
Yes.
You know, and I feel fulfilled. Like it's it's awesome. So like having somebody like you stick around too is like, it builds the city up.
Isn't it interesting how there's still a lot of production here, and everybody actually somewhat, once you get in, you kind of start knowing everybody, and or at least knowing of people, and then you like, I've been following you for like a year and a half, and I finally met you, and it's like we know each other, but like, that's St. Louis. You probably wouldn't get that out in LA, in New York. You're just all, it's just, I mean,
but you know what the funny thing is, I tell people this. Actually, the industry is a lot smaller than what you think. It's a lot, like I say, it's a lot of people out there that's trying to get in. A lot of people aspiring, but the ones that's actually doing it, it's a small amount, and it's a clique. And it's funny because, like one of my buddies that I helped get into the industry, he's like a super big executive producer for like a lot of reality TV shows. Wow. So like when we have phone calls or he run across somebody, he was like, dude, I didn't know you knew such and such. Cause he's like in like New York, Atlanta, all these different places, and he's meeting people that know me. And he's like, man, like I didn't know. I was like, yeah. I was like, dude, I'm telling you, when you get in, it's smaller than what you think. It looks big on the outside, but like once you in, you're in, especially on the executive level and things like that. And the only way you really out, you have to do something really horrible to get ousted.
And we've seen a few of those people.
Yeah, you know, but then sometimes you leave on your own terms or whatever. But it's, you have to, like, one thing I tell people, you have to make sure you have solid relationships with people and you treat people right, because that stuff comes back around, believe it or not. I mean, you can be scandalous and then get there quick, but you gonna fall even quicker.
I think Jake and I have talked about this before. It's like treating people well and with kindness and empathy and patience in this industry in particular, like, will get you farther than being like, you know, the most kick-ass cinematographer ever. Or something, you know?
Well, and talking about St. Louis being small and how like everybody knows each other. The agencies know all the different companies and know the different companies know, and sometimes they're like collaborating in weird ways that it's having that respect. For the most part, I see a lot of respect, and it's like, you know, I want the best for some of the other production companies and creatives, and that's cool. Like we can all do our thing and not do it in the same exact way, or sometimes collaborate. So
I mean, we're all like sort of competitors at the same time, but also like the way that I look at it personally is like a rising tide raises all the boats. And so we're all like, if one company does well, then we're all kind of doing well, because it's helping. Same thing with like Nelly. It's like it's putting us on the map. And so like people are looking at us now and paying attention to us. Yeah. And so like there's plenty to share. Like we can all work. I feel like, personally.
I just wish the one thing is it will be, and me and Jake, we actually went to a seminar or a conference.
Last week. Was that last week?
It was like last week or week before last,
Yeah, 2 weeks
the one thing I would say, and it goes back to just like, and I get it, like people work with people that they know. Yeah. But the one thing is I wish, and in all the creative avenues and all the arts here in St. Louis, we need to be a little bit more diverse. Because I've been to some of these agencies, and dude, it's just like, okay, what is this? Like, why is everybody just all the same? Like, and I feel like in order to start putting out things to different audiences and different people, you just need those different perspectives. And I'm just not talking about like race. I'm talking about just like different ways of people thinking, different religious beliefs, just all these different things that you can bring to the table that can really make some incredible pieces of work.
Right.
You know, and you just don't get that from just one type of person.
Right. It's like you're, the way I think about it is like, there are so many different people out there, and just looking at it from like a business perspective, there are so many different types of consumers out there who consume media or products or whatever it is. And like, you're not going to reach as many people if all the people making creative decisions are all just white dudes. Yeah. You know, it's just not going to work that way. You have to bring other people into the conversation and let them all make choices together to be able to reach all the different audiences that are out there. And you can't do that unless you bring in people who are not like you. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I think that is a big issue in this industry. It absolutely is. So like, I mean, I love a lot of the people that we work with, but like, honestly, most of the people that I work with are just white people. And it's like,
it's common. I mean, it's
just the way the industry is. And I don't know if it's just my experience or if it's just the way it is.
That's 100%. And in Dana, I mean, there's in general, if you pulled all the creatives into one bucket, like the majority would probably be white males, right?
Yeah.
So like, how do we also, I feel like the question goes a little deeper, and you were talking about the mentorships and like, how do we get into like, and we're all busy, we're like working. So it's like, how do we get into the schools and like show people like, hey, there's opportunity here, and you know, you might have creativity and like, what do you think? What more could be done to like?
Well, definitely has to start early, because I know a lot of the colleagues that I know growing up, they had the liberties to experiment early on with their artistry. And you have to remember, like, certain people from certain demographics, they don't have those luxuries because they trying to survive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And they, like I say, they just don't know certain people who hold certain titles and occupations. They don't have access to that. So these type of people need to be more visible. That's why we do a summer youth film camp. We've been doing it 3 years now. And it was important that I got a part of that, because I was like, look, I had a mentor. I started in college, but imagine if I started in high school. Imagine if I was in middle school, where would I be? I'm like, I have an opportunity to give these kids that. And a lot of them, like, we was in Birmingham, because this film camp originated in Birmingham. It's been going on 15 years plus now. We just there for the award show they did. Dude, like the level of the acting, and like the people that's like the kids that's actually like filming, directing, doing sound and all that, dude, they light years ahead.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, so I was like, that's what we need more of. And then also too, you have to be open-minded, because the one thing is, when you bring people in, they may not know it all. And I get it. Us as business people, we trying to make things done, get things done, again on time. Sometimes we don't always have time to show people that. But sometimes you just have a person just like, okay, look, I see some talent in you. Don't say and don't do a whole lot. Just watch. That goes a long way as well. And then you just be surprised of who can do what. But then also too, you have to pick the right people, the right personnel too. Because you just don't want to get people to check off certain boxes. You know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, because people bring certain different things to the table. Some people, and people have certain different interests or whatever. So it's a combination of a lot of different things. But I think the exposure and just being open and willing to give people opportunities, that goes a long way.
I got a question for your mentorship, because we both played basketball, but I stopped playing basketball a long time ago.
Me too.
Exactly. I tried to coach, and I was like, oh, I know what my coaches didn't give me that I can give to these kids. Yeah. And I started coaching, and I realized all the things that I thought I could do from a coaching perspective, I could only get as far as that kid would allow me to get. Yeah. That person also has to want to be, and like, it wasn't like a favoritism thing, but like, it was like, I have to coach a team of 10 kids, but this one kid over here is like really wants it. Yeah. And I'm like, I really just want to focus on this kid because he wants it. And then that makes you as a mentor, like, more excited. Yeah. Because you don't want the kid that's just like, when you turn away and he's not doing what you're asking when you're not looking, how do we bridge that gap? Because, like, you know, to go in and try to help young kids, if they don't want it, I mean, it's a loss. Right?
But you know what? We talk about that because we had some kids that came into the camp that we just felt like their parents was dropping it off for daycare. It was like, oh, it's summer program, or the parents wanted them more than the kid. And then I identify who those kids are. I pull them to the side. I was like, hey, look, how'd you get here? Do you really want to be here? Be honest with me. They was like, hey, my mom kind of, wanted me here. I thought I liked it, but I don't think I'd do this. It's fun, but I don't think I could see myself doing this full time. I was like, you know what? That's great. I said, but you know what? You don't have to do this as a career. But what you have to do is take away certain principles, certain ideals, certain work ethics.
Yes.
Let's lean into that for you. And then you'll find your way into that. But the thing is, you experience this. So use this experience as your teacher, as your guide. Now, the person over here that you really see that got it, we're going to pull you to the side and say, okay, look, let me talk to your parents. Hey, look, they really have something here. You need to do X, Y, and Z. Let's stay connected at the hip to help move them forward. As long as they want to continue to move forward, let's do that. But at the end of the day, though, too, we have to remember, kids should be kids. And should never put any pressure on them to do. The parents or adults shouldn't want it more than the child first. But if that child wants it, has that certain ethic, then, hey, look, as long as you keep giving me this energy, I'm going to get that same energy back to you. And that's how you do it.
I do kind of the same thing. We talk about, I've got 2 young boys. And so we try to teach them, like, look, I know I'm taking you to this thing. It may not be your favorite thing in the world, but like, do your best to get something out of it.
Yes. Learn
something from this. Like, I know you don't like math class, but like, try to get something out of it. Like, don't just sit there and pout and whine about it. You know, like, give me some amount of focus and get something back out of it. So we're not just wasting time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's important. Like you say, it has to be learning experience. Because sometimes, I mean, there's certain things that we have to do in the industry that necessarily we may not have to like doing paperwork. Some people may not like to do script writing or reading scripts or whatever, doing lighting, audio. But it's those things you kind of at least need to have some idea of, because if you put it in somebody's hands and they try to like screw you over, you know, like, hey, look, it don't go down like that, you know.
Well, yeah, I think that's a side of the industry that a lot of people don't think about or don't see. It's like there's a lot of people. Maybe not a lot, but like there's definitely some people out there who are going to try to screw you over. And like if you're a one-man company or you're a freelancer, like you got to know how to take care of yourself and protect yourself. But like, where do you learn that?
Well, and sorry, I wanted to chime in here because I think this is a good, important reason. You said this before we kind of started this conversation about how we work with the same people. You getting in and proving yourself, and then that's what's hard is like the people I would hire, or the people I know this person is going to get it done, and I'm not thinking like who they are or what they look like. I just know they're going to get it done.
Yeah.
And so like,
I totally understand that. And like when I'm producing something and I'm hiring a crew, like the depth of my bench only goes so far. So if my like A, B, and C person to shoot is not available, I'm kind of like, who do I call? Like, and I have to really rack my brain thinking about like, who else is out there that can like do this kind of job? And I'm like, half the time I'm like, I don't know. Like, so I'm texting somebody to see like, hey, who do you recommend for this thing?
But Cammie talked about that, and in that conference that we had, the Breaking Barriers, it was like, reach out to your peers, and then maybe ask them. Like, maybe I can call Dana, maybe I can call other people that I am not even thinking like, this person might know somebody. Yeah. And I'm not, sometimes you're just like moving so fast, you're not even thinking about that.
And it's interesting because it's, I've done some work with BET for one of their a web series that they have done. And their crew is, they like to keep pretty much a self-contained African-American based crew. So when they go to different cities, they literally, that's what they look for first. They like, because they understand the opportunities sometimes can be far and few, and especially to work with a brand like BET. So they get those calls, and if I can't do it, then they ask, hey, so you know somebody else who may have opportunities, so you know some PAs or somebody like their DPs. Man, he's amazing. It's got Kevin Spence. Oh my God. I mean, like, I put him up against any of the DPs that I know. It's like amazing work. He had an inspiring PA that was inspiring to be in a DP. He's sitting there showing them the camera, talking them through it or whatever. And like I said, we have to actually do a for real shoot.
Right.
So it's sometimes just, man, just taking people under their wing and just having that empathy, you know, in order just to make it happen.
Yeah.
Right. I wish we just had like one day a week where we could just all get together and like teach each other stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have time for that though. Is there like one or two things that like, if you could just do those couple things, like I'd be set? Or do you like sort of running around and doing a lot of like sort of rotating between a lot of different stuff?
Man, I like rotating between a lot of different stuff because I'm a true creative. It's like I want to do stuff in the animation world. Oh. I still want to do a few music videos here and there because I just love that genre. I just love music. And it's like this the pulse for filmmaking, I believe. Documentaries, you name it. And actually, I'm have an opportunity to do my first indie feature coming up really soon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. So with a tremendous and amazing author named Brenda Hampton. She's really was known in the urban literature world, and she's made a move over to screenwriting. And you all may not know, but out of Detroit, they have a huge independent movie scene going on up there right now.
Really?
Yes, it's crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah, so she was working with a lot of those directors and producers up there. But she was like, I need to bring this energy back home to St. Louis. So it's stuff like that to where like, you have to be intentional about what you do and moves because you know how it's going to benefit the whole entire ecosystem of your city.
Mm-hmm. See, I was talking about this with other people too. Like, I feel like I run into people who want to kind of pigeonhole you as like, oh, Dana, he's the music video guy.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, well, no, I do all these other things too. Yeah. I'm good at all these other things as well. Like, have you run into that? Yeah,
and I think that's just the industry thing. How you come in, people try to kind of keep you at that, but then that's why you have to like take that time to do spec work, do some of those jobs that may not pay, to show like, hey, look, I could do multitude of different things. Just don't put me into one box and one genre. Mm-hmm. And that's how like certain actors, they do that. They take on a major feature film and they don't want to get typecast, so they do an indie just to show their range.
Yep, that's like me as a commercial actor. Like I'm typecast as like a dad and like a guy who grills. Okay. Like that's like my
wait a minute, like you said grills like Nelly grills?
Oh, no, like literally like grilling meat.
Oh, no, I'm messing with you.
Yes, you look at me now. I'm definitely a guy who wears grills.
I can see you rocking some grills.
Okay. I'll tell my wife. Okay. Let her know.
Next episode.
Christmas is coming up. So.
I know, right? Little bling bling.
We'll have him with the blues chain.
I know,
right?
Yes, you see that?
Oh, God. You were talking about independent film coming up. Like, what else you got? You want to talk some more about that, or what else is on the horizon?
That man, continue working, probably doing more like possibly like advertisement type of branding pieces. Mm-hmm. I still like doing the docu style type of pieces and things like that. And and coming back here, talking to you guys.
Heck yeah!
I think that's what I want to do. You know what? I'm gonna stop filmmaking. I think I want to be a podcaster. You are.
What's your job, Bill?
I'll tell you what, you can have it. Well, cool, Dana. Thank you very much for being on the podcast. This has been a real treat. I wish you continued success, man. Like I know you've had a long career already, but like keep it up.
No doubt.
I'm proud of you. St. Louis is proud of you.
Yep, and I'm proud of everybody in St. Louis. I'm proud of you guys.
We're all coming up together. We can do it. Hey. Yep. We could do it.
Yeah, we could do it.
We could do it.
Do it.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you're watching, my name is Bill Parmentier. I'm with Old Storm Studios. This is the Pre-Pro Podcast presented by SPLYCEHOUSE. Thanks again, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, Dana.
No, thank you. So should we do some of that little chitter chatter to where you fade, like do the blur out, and then we see us kind of